Tonight, Christians make a big thing over whether one of them had gotten it on before they were married. Zod and Dan take a spiritual gifts test. And that's it. This is Zodanza.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I am Objectively Dan. This is Zodanza. Joining me is the Zod to the Danza. It's Prophet Zod. Zod, you sound like you're already giving up on this show, and we're on like episode 11, I think. So
This is Zodanza.
Great intro there, bud. Appreciate that.
Thanks. You really came in hot off the intro. That was some good timing.
Thank you.
There was none of that sitting looking awkward.
I've had some practice.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for October this month makes it 5 years of me doing Truth Wanted.
Really?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Wow.
I was in college when I first started that, and I'm still here doing things on YouTube and the internet. So
you're 5 years out of college?
About, I think.
About.
God, is this what getting old is like? You would know more about this than I would.
Yes, okay. Dan, you're experiencing getting old. Yeah.
I don't like it.
How do you make it stop? I've been out of college for at least 5 years.
How do you make it stop, though? How do you make it stop?
You don't.
Stop old, Zod?
I just literally this week realized I need reading glasses. I have had like amazing vision. With the rest of my body falling apart, my vision was the one thing I had. And then I realized things close to my face were getting blurry, and the glasses helped. So that was a nice touch.
Reading glasses, that's a signifier. That's a bookmark in the chapter of your life right there. Well, and let's not think about the passage of time and the inevitability of death, and let's instead focus on cringe purity culture videos. Zod, what do you say?
Yeah. Before that, though, by the way, if I ever look like I'm in pain, speaking of age, I messed up my back pretty good yesterday. So I'm
Zod is trying to,
but occasionally
he's trying to fake an injury so he can get an Oxycontin prescription. So that's what's happening right here. I'm just, pointing it out for what it is. So sorry about that, Zod.
It's all right. Anyway,
you're very speechless at that. You're not a criminal.
I was not as speechless as you were during our surprise slideshows, but listen, I was a little speechless.
You can't keep bringing that up, Zod. Okay.
I can.
You got one. You got one on me. All right.
I instantly win every conversation by bringing that up.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's change the subject.
Yeah.
So, Dan asked me what I've been up to.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about this. Okay. Wait. Before we talk about that, can we mention this other thing while it's on my mind, which is, next week, we want to do something, and we'll remind you at the end of the show for those of you who are watching live. But if you're watching this on YouTube, we want to do an FAQ portion of the episode. An FAQ for just me and Zod, just whatever you want to ask us about. So if you have a good question for us that you want us to cover on the show, leave your comment down below in the comment section. And we want to read some FAQs. We thought it might be fun. Anyway, Zod, what have you been doing, my friend? What's been happening? Because you've been up to some shenanigans, I hear.
Yeah. So we're kind of laying out the next couple of weeks of content. Next week, ask us anything, whether it's about our backgrounds growing up, what we do on YouTube, whatever. Ask us any kinds of questions. We just want to see what comes to you. You can send them to us at our email, which is in the box below. Or you can bring them to us and throw them in the chat. If you're on Patreon, send us a Patreon message, and that'll get just that little extra bit of priority. Yes. So those are the avenues. If they come through the chat, definitely we'll love to take them on the fly, but getting yours ahead of time might get you a little more leeway as we head into the beginning of the show. Yes, this week, in preparation for the show after that and some content from our main channel, I am have been watching God's Not Dead 4 every
Woo!
night this week.
Every
Ten-
night. Since when, Zod? Since when?
Starting on Sunday. So starting on Sunday, I've watched God's Not Dead 4 every day. And today was number 5. And I'm starting to feel it.
And you're gonna watch it 2 more times.
Yes.
Which is awesome. So cool.
And as I do that, I don't know if there are any Eddie Burback fans out there, but he watched Morbius 5 nights in a row. I decided I would 2-up him and watch God's Not Dead 4 7 days in a row. And
yeah,
I'm recording my thoughts as I do it. So
I think they actually say in the Geneva Conventions that you can't actually do that. You might actually be committing a war crime, like, to yourself. The fact that you're watching this movie 7 times in a row, Zod. First of all, you're the first human being to have ever done this. So congratulate yourself on that. Better call fucking Guinness Book of World Records. Because that's incredible. Also, can you explain to the audience why you're doing this? And it's not just because you're a sadomasochist, but there is like something else to it.
Well, yeah, are you talking about that? We're going to talk about it on the show.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that, but maybe I didn't. Who knows?
I don't think you did.
Okay.
Unless I completely blanked out, which is possible. But yes, I will. We want to talk about your experience on the show, but also for your channel. You're going to have a whole new video on it, which is awesome.
Yeah. So next week, we're going to take your questions. It's just going to be me and Dan for the most part, sitting around talking about whatever you guys ask us. If you don't ask us questions, that is going to be a very sad episode of Zodanza. So please help us prep the show.
Please give us your questions. We really want.
Yeah, and then the week after, Dan's going to ask me about my experience, and he might play some of the clips of me giving my thoughts as the movie unfolds over the course of the week. And then sometime a bit later down the road, I'll do a whole packaged thing where I tell the whole story and give my final thoughts.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So looking forward to when we get to that. But Zah, we got some content to review today. We are looking at Maul and Porgan, or Paul and Morgan, or Morgul, as you called him, which I really like because it does sound like a Lord of the Rings character. But we are looking at famous Christian vloggers, Paul and Morgan, right?
Yeah. This was a very weird video, so I think the best thing to do is dive right into it. We're going to do this, and then we're going to do the spiritual gifts test, which is, it made me cringe even when I was a Christian, the idea of spiritual gifts tests. I think they're basically weird personality tests, but with
Zod and I are going to figure out our spiritual gifts. We're going to see. I'm going to bet you have prophecy. I think you're a prophecy guy. But should we explain to the audience who Paul Morgan is, or do you think everybody knows who Paul Morgan is that watches this show?
How about you do it and make it nice and quick?
Okay, we'll make it nice and quick. Paul and Morgan are, again, evangelical Christian vloggers is how I would describe them. They were recently featured in the documentary about the Duggars and that whole movement. So that's kind of cool. But besides that, like, they're just kind of infamous for just having really bad takes on stuff. They may be one of the more famous Christian vloggers out there. Maybe like Girl Defined is more popular. But like, I think they're famous for hate watchers more than like legitimate followers. But they just have really interesting takes. This video was actually a test video that we did when we were still figuring out this show. And we were both like, oh yeah, we should actually talk about this clip for the real show. So we saw this both a couple months back. I rewatched it for today. And I know, Zod, you did too. And we have some thoughts. So we're gonna go into this. But if you haven't seen this or any Paul Morgan content before, oh boy, get ready, because you're gonna have a good time. I'll tell you that.
All right. So yeah, this video is about the fact that one of these people had relations before they got married. And I'm not going to show it, I guess, but the thumbnail basically says how it affected him or how it made him feel or something like that.
Yes.
If you just want a little bit of context for this, which is pretty lovely.
Yes. We're talking about how Morgan's premarital sexual life affected Paul. as they got married, and what she basically owes him, I guess. I don't know, but I don't want to spoil too
Yeah.
much. Well, let's get into the clip.
All right, I'm moving ahead a little bit because they have a lot of intro and like promoting the merch, and we don't need to watch
I
that.
wanted to obey God.
All right, so when we got married, you were 26.
I was.
You were a virgin.
Right, 26-year-old virgin.
I was your first kiss.
On the lips.
Yes, so I was your first everything.
Yeah, and I'm super thankful for that. It's interesting because I do think it's
And that's
something
very
that
healthy.
some men or women take so much pride in and almost kind of exalt themselves. I was 26 and saved everything. I am better than these other people. The Bible says that left to ourselves, like our righteousness is filthy rags compared to the holiness of Jesus. So like anything without Jesus, there's no good in that. And it helped when I did meet Morgan and realized that she was not a virgin. It helped that I had just a kind of a sobriety about that. Yeah, I'm a virgin, but that doesn't make me holier than someone who's walking with the Lord that's made mistakes in the past. Not to say that.
Yeah, so already a lot of things happening here, Zod. What do you think's going on?
I have a feeling that there might be a little bit of false humility running through this whole thing.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Is that what you're
So-
thinking of?
One thing I like is he says our righteousness is like filthy rags compared to God. But if you're righteous, if your righteousness is like filthy rags to God, it's still something compared to other people, right?
Yes. Like he's about to like qualify this statement as well. He's about to say, being a virgin doesn't make me better than other people, but also like, okay, what do you mean? But also, okay, it doesn't make you better than other people. Like you already admit that everybody's a filthy sinner. And this is kind of, this is a classic sort of cognitive dissonance that happens with the whole sin thing, right? If we're all sinners, but some people are worse sinners than others, right? Like that's kind of the mentality that's happening here. I also want to point out the fact that this woman was Paul's first kiss on the lips as like an adult man, which is like, I'm not going to shame people for lack of sexual experience or otherwise, but like if he truly was doing this like to wait for the right person, I mean, that takes a lot of I guess restraint is how I would put it. I don't know if that's a good restraint though. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sure if that's healthy. Paul's like a good looking guy too. Like objectively, I think he's a handsome man. So it's like, I don't know. Unless he has a shitty personality, which kind of does. Like, I don't know. He could meet people if he really wanted to. So if he was genuinely like completely restraining till then, I guess that's just props to him for that. But like, again, I don't know if that was actually good for you,
Yeah, this is I don't know that that's the best choice. Like I could see how some people feel like it's healthy, or you get a good feeling for saving yourself for a specific person, a specific experience. But like Christians don't tire of saying there's more to sex than just a physical act potentially. It can be deeply personal, and there's a lot of relational stuff to it. And there's a lot that you grow in as you experience that part of your life. So to not know any of that about yourself and then dive into a committed relationship that in your religion you consider yourself in for life, I think you're going in with a lot of naivety and you're lacking a lot of perspective on what your relationship could be like, or even what to compare it to. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's not as crass as comparing the physical act.
No,
It's kind of like, yeah. Go ahead.
I just think like you need to have a kind of social development as a person in order to navigate romantic relationships in general, or just sexual relationships, even if it's just for that. Like there's different things that you learn with being with people in that kind of capacity that I don't know, is healthy to learn if you're interested in having those kinds of relationships at all, which obviously he was. I mean, he's married now. So again, not to like dunk on the guy's personal decisions in life, but like, I mean, I don't think that's good for everyone. I really don't. Maybe it was good
No.
for him, and that's fine. But like, to prescribe that kind of lifestyle, I don't think is healthy for everyone involved. Definitely not.
Yeah, I didn't go directly at this, but I didn't date a lot. I basically didn't date until I was like 20 something, like 22 or something like that. And I went into my first big relationship and ultimately marriage with not nearly enough knowledge of who I was and and you don't have a sense of what you're putting up with in a relationship or what kind of person you're being both ways. And I think this encourages that. I don't know.
Agree. Yeah, but let's continue here.
Yeah,
They got a lot more to say.
I like Shivers' comment, by the way. If I saw him at a bar, I'd cover my drink.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, Shivers, is it because you know he's Paul, like, because, or is it just because he has that look about him? Because, like, you know, that's two different vibes. I feel like I have wondered, because so Paul and Morgan do, and I like how I said we should move on, and then I keep talking. But Paul and Morgan do this thing where they go out to people and talk to people about Christianity on the street, and I have been asked before, what if like I was there? Would I go talk? Would I go talk to them? I probably would, but they probably would never show me on YouTube. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just think that's funny. Let's keep watching.
By the way, quick technical thing. I saw a comment or two about it. Don't worry about me disappearing from the stream. That battery flashing does not mean my camera is going to shut off. I'm plugged into the wall. It's just for some reason it hasn't happened in a long time, but that happens, which is a distraction. But
if Zod,
yeah, I'm not
if Zod is out, then it's just going to be Danza for a little bit. So I'll have to like change the overlay and stuff. It'll be a big headache. So Zod, you can't leave.
Yeah, she said he has a douchey look to him. I hate judging people, but he gives that vibe. He has that basic bro vibe. If you saw him in a bar,
he looks like he is born and bred California. You know, that I think that's true. Yeah.
You think he eats avocado toast?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. I believe that, but let's not, I don't want to judge people by their looks, you know, but you know, it's there. We all see it, you know, it's one of those things.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
When you told me that you were not a virgin, I didn't have to process some things and think through some things. I do want to give the caveat of there are people that wait and treasure saving sex so greatly that it can be very difficult for them to get past. So that kind of is situational.
All right.
Okay, I don't mean to cut. We talked a lot.
Let's watch for 10 seconds and then we pause.
Yeah. But this is something that's core to this whole thing. He says this can affect people, basically. So what he's saying is what you did can affect somebody, but fortunately it's not that way for us. What this whole conversation is doing is saying we're cool, but we're cool because I can deal with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Not that you did something good. You definitely did something wrong. I'm just cool with it. Yeah, that's
Yeah, this can have this profound impact on somebody, but fortunately, I'm a big enough man to deal with this. All right, let's go because we stopped too early.
Let's get to some of the questions.
I'm ready. You're a great interviewer, by the way.
Thank you. Were you looking for a virgin? Was this something that made you question pursuing me when you found out that I was not a virgin?
My prayer before I got married was, God, send me a woman who loves you with all her heart. And so to say, was I looking for a virgin? No, like that was not my prayer. Lord, send me a virgin. For me, finding out that you were not a virgin, just that in itself was not something that was like, oh no. It was more like, okay, she's not a virgin. Is she at a different place than she was when she had sex before marriage? Is she changed? Has she learned? And real quick, some of you guys are going to say, Paul, you have no right to.
Real quick, I'll bet that she learned some things that he hasn't learned.
Yeah, for real. What did you learn from having sex with other dudes before we got married? And Morgan's probably like, well, do you really want to know? Like,
well, it isn't devastating that you had sex before marriage, but that's because there's a possibility that you're not a dirty whore anymore.
Yeah. That is like, that's what he's saying. Yeah, I do like oh man, it's like, no, I didn't pray for that God should send me a virgin, but like the logic of it is it would have been better if
Yeah.
you were, right? Like it's still, there's still a hierarchy at play here of what's better, what's not.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
That's so funny.
Like, Morgan does not need to ask you for forgiveness. Paul, you have no right to have Morgan like ask for forgiveness or whatever. Again, guys, like, you can say what you will. I was not holding it like as judgment over her, but at the same time, there is such a thing as asking for forgiveness. And, you know, when you're looking to marry someone and you've, you know, sinned in an area, like, first off, you better have asked for forgiveness to God. Humble yourself.
No
Stop
matter
living.
what the sin was.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that line. There are moments in these, you can just tell these people fight a lot off camera, right?
Listen, I'm telling Zod, Zod is not seeing like any Paul and Morgan content, y'all. Okay. And so those of you who have seen Paul and Morgan, you know that sentence right there is the vibe in like every single Paul and Morgan video. So the fact that Zod is picking up on it like this early is just really funny to me. But yeah.
Yeah, I just love that. He's like, I don't know, her little thing where she blurts out no matter what the sin was. That's like, it feels like just the right amount of uncomfortable pushback that it's like you're getting a peek into the door of what they're like when they're not on camera.
And this is part of the appeal of watching Paul and Morgan. It's just like, look, they're putting this stuff out there, right? So it's like they're okay with this. They edited this. They're okay with all of this being there. Like, if you have a modicum of social ability, you can tell that like they've had conversations about this off camera that weren't pleasant, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
And you'll see it more, I think, later in the video too, but it's so present. It's effervescent throughout the entire video. It really is.
I'm sorry. Everyone else who's putting things in the chat, I don't mean to just pick out Shivers, but there's just a couple things that have been perfect in this. I like how this brings back my college Christian days. Everyone knew everybody's virginity status, and there was a hierarchy based on it.
There is.
Which is awesome,
told because in every other world, right, if you're the virgin in the conversation, you're on the bottom rung. But in Christianity, it is flipped. Like, it is the reverse. That which is kind of interesting. I'm not saying that's good or bad, by the way. For either case, it's just like that's the worldview.
I don't know if I've talked about in the show yet, but I have to make sure I've shared it at some point. This thing about a hierarchy in college reminds me of the story of Struggling with It. Have I ever told you that?
Wait, what? No, like the clown?
No, not the clown.
Oh,
in this person I knew growing up says he went to a Christian college, and on the dorm of their floor, the RA got the guys to all have this agreement that if they ever felt the need to take care of themselves when they're in their rooms, they could run out into the hallway and say, "I'm struggling with it."
Oh. What? Wait, this is like a dorm full of dudes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So if you feel the urge to sin against the Lord in that way, and I guess against your future wife, if that counts, you just run out and say, "Yeah, I'm struggling with it," and all the other brothers will come pray with you and help you.
I do think I remember you telling me about this at some point now, and I'm still physically cringing at the you couldn't pay me to do that at my college dorm. Absolutely not. Never. Oh, that is crazy. That is so funny.
Yeah, I cannot imagine anybody ever took them up on that offer. Like, who wanted to be that guy?
Yeah, like, you're just telling everybody you're horny. Like,
sock on the doorknob is easier.
Yeah, like, what? I want to have sex, but I can't. Bros,
so,
help me out.
Sorry, we got some good ones we got to get through. Sacred Cow Diner says, so the guys just spent all their time out in the hallway talking to each other then?
No. That is so gross. Wait, so how many times did that happen? Like, did people actually do that?
I don't know that anybody ever did it, but they just said that there was the offer to do that, and
Oh, there was the
I can't
offer. Okay.
imagine any. Yeah,
I cannot imagine even the most devout Christian actually going through with that. That I would be
Yeah.
shocked if anybody actually did, but that's a very funny mental image. That's so funny.
but I like Sacred Cow's comment. It shows the difference between the perception versus the reality. Like nobody took them up on that offer because they all want to pretend that they don't want to do that,
That's
or
true.
that like 90+% of the guys do it every day and just don't say anything.
They're like,
sorry, there's no
listen,
way.
we're against safe spaces, but if we'll be there for you when you say you want to watch porn, I guess, and not judge you. Like, okay, all right, guys, all right, okay. All right, we gotta get to this video. We got some more stuff to watch.
Oh, but speaking of, sorry, one more thing. I think that has to tie into this thing too, because I don't think she ever quite comes out and says, oh, but let's talk about how much porn you've looked at. But I'm sorry, as holier than thou as he acts in this, I don't think he was so pure that he never looked at anything.
That's true.
You know,
just because you're a virgin does not mean you were not cranking it. That is, yeah, absolutely true. Yeah, and
there is,
yeah.
Sorry. And I was just going to say, and there is no way, I just love the look on her face there, by the way, there where we're paused. As much as this little thing slipped out, there is no way that is not running through her head and she's just like holding it back. Like how much of you know?
Yeah, that's true.
All right,
there is an element of vindictiveness from him as the video goes on, but let's watch
or
it.
Whatever.
If you fall, if you sin, if you're living in habitual sin, like you better be repenting and asking for forgiveness. So you guys cut that out. Humble yourself. Stop living in so much pride. Second, I do think it's appropriate to ask the person that you may end up marrying for forgiveness for a sin you've committed that is probably going to affect them to some level. So if it had been reverse and I had sinned in that area, for me to be like, hey, Morgan, I just want you to know that I have had sex before marriage. I'd like to ask for your forgiveness. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah. Like Paul.
So what do you think, Dan? Should you ask for forgiveness for something that you did before you knew the person?
Yeah, that is an interesting thought, right? I when I was a Christian, I understood the idea. Okay, you're saying you have to ask forgiveness for God for your sins. I've never was told, yeah, you have to ask forgiveness from your future wife for all the sinning you were doing. That's really weird. Yeah, I don't agree with that. Surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
That's not
Okay. Just wanted to have a little check in on that.
Yeah.
Said it was a sin that I committed that was going to affect us, our marriage, our relationship. Like, so he absolutely deserved to know, and it was my choice to ask for his forgiveness. It's not like he was like, well, are you going to ask me to forgive you?
Right.
That was not it. Like, it was my choice to ask for forgiveness. I decided to humble myself. I decided to lay down my pride. I decided that this guy is important to me and I want him to know that I am sorry, that he's not going to be my first. Like,
so yeah, it was her choice to ask for forgiveness, but that lands a little differently when he just finished talking about how she should, doesn't it?
Yes, it totally does. He literally was just like, you have to do this if you want to have like a good relationship or whatever. Like, he's like, this is what you must do. You owe. I don't think he's literally said it, but he basically implied like you owe this to your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's so funny.
And by the way, having her experiences does affect their marriage, I'm sure, in some way. A lot of it has to do with how they let it affect their marriage. But are we going to pretend that his lack of experience didn't affect their marriage, potentially for the worse?
That's true. That's a good point. Yes. Because like, yeah,
Like
okay. Are your previous encounters, romantic, sexual, or otherwise, with people going to affect relationships in the future? Yeah, that's just the consequences of experiences in general. But like, you can't just say like, oh, I'm a virgin and that means I'm more pure and I'm going to go into this relationship with like an advantage. That doesn't help you in any way whatsoever, right?
Does he have an obligation before the Lord to ask her forgiveness because of the gross sloppy kiss he gave her on their wedding day and for blowing his load early on their wedding night?
Stop. Cut that out. Editor Dan, cut that out. Don't let that go on the clip. All right, censor that. Anyway, that's a note to myself in the future.
All right, sorry, I'll try to be more delicate with my language.
Yeah. And guys, like the other person in that situation, I better say, yes, I forgive you. Like, how would I hold that over someone's head? Even if maybe it was too difficult of a pill for me to swallow. And when I learned that, I was like, Morgan, I just need a break to process this. And I don't think it's actually going to work out. Like, even if it was in that scenario, I still better forgive her. Like, who am I to hold that over her head when God has forgiven her?
Next question.
I'm sorry. This is a lot, but we got to touch on that.
You got a lot of things to say about this. You're fired.
No,
up.
there's a lot in this. Do you have any thoughts on that before I just charge into it?
I don't really have any in particular on that, honestly. I feel like there's so much more in this video.
Okay. I'll be quick. I just hate that he says what you did is something that could make someone need to stop and process and take a break from the relationship or maybe end it. But who am I to hold that over your head? So yeah, who am I to not forgive you for doing something that could end our relationship?
Okay, yeah, that is a good point. It is still kind of a brag. It's like I'm the good guy in this. You know, you did a wrong, and I'm the good guy, and I just, that's good reminder of that. You're right. There is something to be said.
He lays it on really thick beneath a very thin veneer of I should forgive you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did Paul ever deal with jealousy or that you may compare him while having sex the first time?
That's a real question, and I'll be honest, like those type of thoughts have crossed my mind, especially earlier on in the relationship, and I think that's just one of the potential baggages of having premarital sex. But, praise the Lord, when those type of thoughts would come into my mind, and it wouldn't be like a lot, but when they occasionally would, I would just pray and ask the Lord, like, help me not dwell on this. I don't need to dwell on this. There's no real benefits of me dwelling on these type of things.
Again, you guys, it's like we said, this sin of having sex before marriage does not just affect you, doesn't just affect the person you had sex with, it affects your future spouse too. And the consequences don't just fall on you, they fall on the person who didn't even do anything. So, like he said, maybe thoughts did come into his mind of like, oh man, what is she gonna think, blah, 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 whatever they were. Like, that is not a consequence that he deserved. Like, he did not do anything to have to deal with this baggage. But so just think again, like, this is another reason why we need to humble ourselves and ask for forgiveness.
But guys, just so you know, like,
all right,
that took a weird turn right there, even by this standard.
I mean, what is there to say about this, Zod? What is there to say? If you have sex before marriage, you're gonna think, wow, this person had sex with other people before marriage. I mean, yeah, I don't know, that's life. You just got to get over it. Like, you got, that's a result of insecurity, right? Like, if you're with the person that you like, and this is the kind of relationship that you want it to be long-term, and you genuinely love that person, and they genuinely love you, they're just going to want to be with you. They're not going to want to be with anybody else. And real human beings will have thoughts anyway by the way, of thinking like, oh, that person's attractive, even when you're with somebody else. So it's not like that doesn't go away, even if you're married to somebody. It's just what you do with that thought. Are you going to continue with that and say, oh, I'm going to abandon this relationship because it's not worth it, because I have some thoughts about this other person? Or are you going to be an adult and just like move on and just be like, okay, this person's relationship is what I want, and I'm going to be with this one person. I don't know. This is just like, I feel like I'm being like a life coach here for old Paul, but it's like, come on, man, like, man up, Man up. Just kidding. I'm not going to do the man up thing. But when I said man up that one time, everybody lost their minds. Oh, sorry. That was on Truth Wanted. That wasn't on Zodanza. Wait, was it on Zodanza? I can't remember now. I'm getting my
No,
up.
I don't think you heard that here. Wait, you've been with other shows?
Oh shit. Oh yeah, I guess we haven't. We got to talk about. Hang on, Zod. Hang on.
Yeah,
Zod. I'm asking you. Okay, you're not telling me that I need to do this, but I'm asking you out of my own choice that I have been on other shows before I've been on Zodanza, and you're not my first co-host on a live stream, and I'm really sorry about that. So, I gotta ask God, and I gotta ask you as my co-host whether we can keep doing this. What do you think?
For many shows, this would end the whole production and probably result in a lawsuit.
Yeah,
and I can't keep this up.
well, man, I was like trying to get.
I choose to forgive you.
You choose to forgive
me. I'm a big enough person that this massive transgression doesn't need to affect me. It might affect other people. If you were to do this to almost anybody else, it would be devastating, and they would just collapse under the weight of the emotional turmoil.
Yeah,
but I think I can.
I was trying to find some sad music on my soundboard here as we were having this conversation, but we're kind of towards the end of this bit now. But that was a pretty good bit, Zod. Thanks for improving with me. I enjoyed that experience.
You're welcome,
folks. Don't you think Zod should improv more? I think he should. I think he can get into that if he really wants to. But yeah, sorry, Zod, you're not my first. And by first, I mean live stream co-host. So do with that information as you will. But thanks for forgiving me. I appreciate
you're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
My righteousness is like filthy rags compared to God, even though it's like miles above your depravity.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I think you basically nailed this last one though.
Okay.
Like this is the sin of premarital sex is really just about the jealousy and angst that you might feel if your partner's been with somebody else.
Yeah.
And that is a normal thing to feel deep down inside or to wonder about. A lot of people deal with that. But coming to terms with that and internalizing it and getting used to it and getting to the point where hopefully that can roll off your back and you can just be an adult, that's just part of growing up. And I feel like they're not encouraging each other or anybody else to get past that and just be an adult about the fact that somebody else has had another partner. Instead, she's sitting here treating them like a fragile victim. Like he should have never been put through me doing something before I ever met him. Like, yeah, grow up. You should go through that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's as much part of growth, that experience, as growing and having an actual like sexual experience. Like, I don't know. They're trying to stop themselves from experiencing things that are going to help them become fuller, more mature adults.
True, Zod. You're right. That is just like a part of being human, is having emotions and feelings. Sometimes feelings you don't want to have, and dealing with that, and growing with that instead of just like cutting it off. You can either vibe with it or you can pretend like it's not there. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's your choice at the end of the day. But anyway, let's keep going here.
And you can see a lot on these people's faces. By the way, what happens at Perkins stays at Perkins. Yes, Purple.
Perkins.
It's a restaurant. I literally met Purple at Perkins when I was in Minnesota last summer.
Oh, okay. See, that's that's an in joke. I'm glad you explained the in joke. Now that I'm in on the in joke, it's a lot funnier. Yes. Thank you for that.
So let's just catch up here real quick. We've hit a kind of natural stopping point where we've kind of gotten to a conclusion about what this is about. Normally we might keep going, but we're at 6:40 and we haven't touched on the spiritual gifts yet. Do you want to?
I think we should just keep talking about this video, honestly.
Okay,
also, Jason
I'm good with that.
In the comments said that the website that we were going to go to do the spiritual gifts thing may not actually be a safe website for us to visit, which joke's on him. My tab's been open on it forever now. So if I got viruses, it's all over my computer.
That was going to be the second part of my question. So yeah, let's just go ahead and do this. Sorry for the false advertising. You won't see us take spiritual gifts test.
Ooh.
We might find a safer way to do that. And thank you, Jay Victor, for the super.
Yeah, we got.
And
super
also
chat.
thank you for saying, weren't you in a threesome with Pelagia and a lady whose name escapes me a few months back?
Yeah, that's true. You're not my. I'm not your first either, Zod. That's the thing. Well, it's more like you've had other people, you've met with me once because you were on Truth Wanted before that. Was I your first live stream?
True. Truth Wanted? No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought I was. I thought
No,
I
I've done a lot of little.
popped your live stream cherry, Zod.
No, I've done a lot of. I don't even know that you were my first ACA. Sorry.
Damn. Holy shit.
But I've done a lot of streams like way back in the day, like back when I would do it up in my kitchen and stuff. Yeah.
Zod,
sorry.
Zod's bragging about it now. Okay, you don't have to brag, dude. Okay, we get it. You stream.
Sorry, am I hurting your feelings?
No, I'm good. Let's
okay.
move
When
on,
I stream, I use protection, and by that I mean I don't let viruses onto my computer.
Yeah, that's true.
I
go into these websites bareback, and when I mean bareback, I mean HTTP, no S.
You continue through and it says a security risk is.
That's right.
Coming. All right, let's go.
Pop-ups, sure thing. Enable those.
That, the
bitches.
jealousy, the comparisons, that was not a big issue. It wasn't a significant issue. You guys are getting some juicy stuff here.
Seriously, some of this stuff we haven't even talked about, like, until right now. So.
Oh, that's healthy.
Things come out on the YouTube videos.
All right, this question is more for me. The question is, how did you think Paul would react when you told him? Well, it's interesting because another question was, when did you tell him? How early on did you tell Paul about not having your virginity? I told Paul on our very first date because...
Okay.
You love to see it, baby. You love to see it. What do you talk about on a first date, Zod? What do you talk about on a first date? You talk about your hobbies, your job, whether or not you're a virgin, right? Those are the three. Those are the big three people talk about every time. I love it. That's great.
Yeah. Very, very, very normal thing to do. Good sense of personal boundaries there. I wonder if she carries a notebook where she like lists the number of experiences just to make sure they understand the extent of her sin.
No, that might make it worse. That she's thinking about it and like in enough detail to write it down. You know what I mean?
Well, do you want to show up on your first date and just pop off a quick, I've been with someone once, and then you get down to where you're engaged and serious and they find out how many times? Like, you got to lay it all out on the table.
Well, apparently, Zod, they're having some stuff in this conversation right now that they haven't talked about before, and they decided to just put it all on YouTube. So
yeah,
I don't know what to predict with this couple.
Yeah, I just love watching their faces. If you're just listening to this, you need to stop and you need to watch their faces because their faces tell way more of the story than anything they're saying.
There is a lot of body language in Paul and Morgan videos. It is fascinating to see.
Yeah. If I were their neighbors, I would like be listening through the walls to make sure I didn't need to call someone to help because it has a creepy vibe to it.
Oh my God. All right, let's keep going.
Like you all know in the last video, I couldn't really hide it. I had a tattoo on my wrist, on my arm when I met Paul that said until marriage. So he saw that tattoo. I was wearing a short sleeve shirt. It was like summertime.
I commented on it.
So
you
he
hussy.
was like, yeah, so tell me about your tattoo. And I was like, okay, well, it's not legit. Like, it's a real tattoo, but I didn't stay true to it. So there's that. I'm not a virgin. So he found out, like, on our first date ever meeting in person, he found out. I think, honestly, even if I didn't have that tattoo, I probably would have told him our first date because I was in a place where right before I met Paul, I talked to another guy for a short time, very short, and he knew that I was not a virgin, and he led me on, and then like got my feelings built up and then was like, yeah, sorry, I can't be with you. I want to marry a virgin. even though he wasn't a virgin either.
Hello.
So it was messed up, okay? Really frustrating and annoying. So I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to tell the guy the first time that I ever meet him, hey, I'm not a virgin. And if you don't like that, well, that's fine. You can leave.
You didn't want to take a chance on dating someone for a while and then they find out and then it's too much for them to handle, so they move on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if that's, first of all, I 100% believe her that she was with a dude that was like, yeah, you're not a virgin. I can't be with you, even though I'm not a virgin. I actually believe that. I don't think she's making that up. I think that's real.
Yeah.
You think that's real? It's probably a real story, right?
It very well could be. I don't have good reason to doubt it.
I don't
Extremely
doubt
strange.
it. But this is so California Christian, this whole thing. You know what I mean? He saw
Yeah.
my tattoo on my arm that said just till marriage, and I wasn't actually a virgin. That's hilarious. That's awesome. I love that, actually. That is extremely funny.
Well,
but-
and you give up a relationship because you want a virgin. Like, okay, leave this one and go out there and fish around. What do you think your odds are going to look like realistically?
Yeah, in California, no less, which is where they met.
Anywhere. I'm sorry. Anywhere.
I know, but still, it matters.
Yeah.
The thing is,
Yeah.
like, they are just in such a weird, like, privileged bubble. You know what I mean? Like, they just have this, they have this crazy influence over people now. Well, I guess this is before they were on YouTube, but, like, you know, they live in a world where they can really do anything and be whoever they want. And it's like, you know, we really are going to stick to these fundamental principles because we really think like these are the best things that are going to navigate our lives. And already, even before they were married, when they were just going on their first date, it was already fucking with their relationship. You know what I mean? It was already like changing the way their dynamic. And that sucks. I hate that these stupid rules just like fuck with people like that. I don't know. It's dumb. It's really dumb.
It seems like it's all about pretending things aren't there. Like, you know, they pretend that most people generally aren't going to have sex before marriage. They both are probably pretending to each other, or at least to the audience, that they both don't take care of themselves on a regular basis. And even the way they present themselves, you can tell by their facial expressions and by little things that burst out. This is not representative of the kinds of conversations they have behind closed doors. It's like you're pretending a ton of real stuff just simply isn't there. And then you're making huge deals out of normal things and acting like they're relationship ending or just personally devastating. And I don't know, it's also backwards. But that's Christianity, though. Like in every single church, all the real stuff's buried below the surface. And you're maintaining this incredibly strange facade. And I think if you really got to know people and get them to talk frankly, you would see that every single church.
Yeah, and it's like this thing of, oh, you had sex before marriage. It's like you killed somebody. Like it's like this guilt that hangs over you for the rest of your life, even after you're married. Apparently, like they're literally making a video about it. You know, just get over it. I don't know what to tell you. That's most people. Most people do not wait until marriage. Period. That's it.
We touched on this, but I think I think you're really hitting a lot of stuff here. Like when you talk about, they act like they killed someone, that amount of guilt. She's internalizing every complex, difficult, like eating at your gut feeling that he has about this. And those feelings can be intense for a lot of people, probably for most people until you learn to grow up and deal with it. But she's taking that all on herself, or at least that's the public act they're putting on at this point. And that's a lot. Nobody should have to own all of that. Like they're talking about how he shouldn't have to cope with the fact that she'd been with somebody. She shouldn't have to be sitting there every day living with his feelings about it and living with every passive aggressive comment or look that communicates that to her as a result.
You're right. You're right. In
not
other words,
cool.
They're both being toxic. And I stand for that. I agree. Equality. Zod's all about equality. He's like the man and the woman here are being wrong.
Yeah, if they want to warn us about that quiz that you wanted to have us take, I'm afraid the toxicity from this video is like leaking all over my computer.
It's true. We're getting viruses just from watching this video. That's very true. let's keep going.
His reaction, I didn't know how he was going to react. I didn't really think about it because, again, it happened really fast on our first date. So it really like kind of hit me like several weeks later as we were dating. I was just like, wow, like the way he has handled all of this, especially as I learned more about him and how pure he was and how innocent, I was like, oh my goodness, what? I am not worthy of this guy. And I even told him I tried to end the relationship because I did not feel worthy of dating him. I was like, you're too godly for me. I'm messed up. I have baggage. Like, you don't need that. And he was like, no. Again, I'm gonna say this. Never once did Paul ever make me feel like he was better than me or like he deserved better than me or that I was.
If she thinks that just by watching this video, she doesn't know how to read a room. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just don't believe it. I really don't. I hear the words coming out of your mouth, but your face tells otherwise. Yeah.
And I'll tell all of you here right now, if a woman tells you the stuff she's telling you, you are just so pure and so perfect, and I could never live up to you, and I'm so messed up. It's not just the effect you have on her. You need to turn and run because there's some stuff that person needs to process before they're ready to be in a relationship.
That's
And
true. That's true if
you're
you're a
not
man
going
or a woman, though, Zod.
Yeah. I know.
You started with if a woman tells you, and I was like, is Zod about to have his Andrew Tate moment on the stream right now? I was worried where you were going there, but you saved it. So good job.
Okay. If a person tells you that, I'm speaking from some personal experience with a few past relationships I've had, and then with
Zod was gonna go, if you're a real Sigma male, all right, you shouldn't let anything a woman tells you bother you. That's what Zod just said, and he put his sunglasses on too, and he played the Sigma male grind set song in the background. That's all I heard right now, Zod. I didn't hear anything else.
You read a room about as well as Morgan does.
Zod Drew Tate. Zod Drew Tate. That's your new handle.
Okay, let's start over. If you are a male, female, gender fluid, non-binary, whatever, whoever you are, if somebody comes at you and says, you are so pure, you're so perfect, I don't deserve you, I can't live up to you, that's gonna be a problem.
You're right. And there you go. Boom. That's
yes.
You had the correct take. Congratulations, Zod. You win. You said the right thing on the internet, and that's all that matters. I'm happy for you.
You know what else matters?
Yeah. What's up?
I forgive you for having been on other shows.
Oh, thank you.
This
I appreciate
dirty, filthy, gross girl who, like, no, like, I always felt like I was this pure, innocent, godly woman. Yeah, his reaction was way better than I ever thought it would be. Would Paul say that it is something that is still affecting him in any way?
I mean, really, no. The short answer to that question.
They said no, and then they're literally talking about it in a YouTube video. I can't get over this. They're just so in denial about this. It is so funny. What do you mean, bro? Of course it's affecting you. Nobody does this. Nobody talks about stuff like this.
Just take away the rest of it. A no never counts when it comes after an that was that long.
Yeah.
That does not
that's
count.
A microsecond too long. You know what I mean? You just know. You know.
That no is the same as when your partner says I'm fine. Like,
yes, you're right. You're right. And it was caught live in 4K right here. We just watched it, and they put that on YouTube. They didn't have to do that, but they did. It's awesome.
That no is basically the whole thing of this video. Like, he's posed a question about how she affects him. He needs everyone, including her, to make sure he has to stop and think about it, and then he comes to the right conclusion. And she is, as they're saying, I think it's mostly her, she's dirty, she's rotten, she's gross, but he doesn't see her that way. I don't know.
Yeah. It is interesting to see.
Ick.
Is ultimately no. It's not something that I struggle with, deal with.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, and same goes for me, and the same can be said for you. Like,
Yeah.
no matter what, whether you slept with 5 guys, it might be harder, but the Lord can still redeem.
Yeah.
Like, totally.
Yeah, sometimes there's consequences to our sin, like absolutely, but there can also just be such sweet redemption and being made new, and the Lord will help you. You know, He's for us, you guys.
Did you guys talk about it more than once, or was it just a one-time thing?
It definitely wasn't like a reoccurring thing. Unless there's like a real reason to bring it up, why would you keep bringing it up?
This is another question for me.
Why bring it up when you can just let it simmer beneath the surface?
Was this a one-time thing, or did you keep bringing it up? Oh, well, you know, we're making a YouTube video about it right now, but like, what do you mean? They were just like, oh, hey, let's just talk about the fact that you're not a virgin. Hey, Morgan, we need some more content for the channel. What do you think? Let's talk about how you slept with dudes before we got married. Hey, you want to talk about that real quick? Nah, let's just talk about it all for the video. We don't have to talk about it right now. Yeah, just for the video, because I'm not really thinking about it or anything. That's crazy.
Does every look on his face throughout this video count as bringing it up? Because
it's so true. It's so true.
Wow. Okay.
Did you feel like a virgin again on your wedding night? Did it feel new and pure? I talked about this kind of in my video, but yeah, I felt like I was a virgin. I felt totally new and pure. It was so godly and like beautiful.
It was so godly.
Super nervous, like shaking in my boots.
Like in a good way, nervous?
Yeah, nervous and excited, Like, again, my memories were totally wiped clean, so it's not like I was like remembering like, no, that was not the case for me. Like,
Praise the Lord.
Yeah. Okay, this is a good one. This is kind of a question.
Wait,
for me,
hold on.
but
We
also
need
for
to
you.
pause. Okay. Her memories were wiped clean. What does that mean? Was she brainwashed? Did she was this like a Matrix thing? Did she get plugged in and now she's living a different life? Is this like Minority Report? Like, what's going on?
I don't know. She'd gotten plugged in before they were married.
When you get saved, do you lose your memories? What's this theology? Amnesia Theology? I didn't know about this. Tell me about this.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But she totally didn't remember anything else from any other guy. And you were the absolute best.
That, first of all, scary if you don't remember at your age. Second, did you get did something happen? Like, wait, what do you? I don't know. Maybe that's a hole we shouldn't look into. Maybe that just needs to be there. Maybe we just observe.
Yeah.
There's a rabbit hole, and that's it. And we don't go down.
All I'm gonna say is, for being unaffected by all this and for forgiving her, he was way too quick and enthusiastic with a praise the Lord when she said she didn't remember anything else and was living a new virginal life out with him. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did. And that's what is concerning.
Yeah. That kind of praise the Lord shouldn't hinge that much on whether she felt that or
That's
remembered
true.
another
Yeah,
partner.
no, you're right though. There is the implication. Okay, but what if he does though? What does that mean? Is that a punishment?
What if he does what?
Like, what if he still, what if it does, quote unquote, still bother him or whatever, or doesn't, it's not something that comes up in his life. Is that something that they can deal with as adults is what I'm saying. Like, or is that something that just can't be rectified?
They're
'Cause if it
putting the
can't
fact
be-
that they can't out there for us to see very clearly. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, it's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and if you're in a healthy place with this, you should not hear anything about what the person's thinking or feeling about their past relationship or whether they remember it and have a sudden surge of relief. If that much hinges on how they're processing their past relationships or whether they had them, then yeah, you're way insecure and
Yeah.
constant ups and downs based on what you read coming from that person and probably lots of conflict.
Yeah. I agree. I
Okay.
agree.
So, did you personally struggle with maintaining your purity during dating and engagement because you weren't a virgin and Paul was? You knew that I was not a virgin. Like, did it tempt you to like go further than the boundaries that we set because you knew that I had done stuff before, or like were you just that much stricter?
Well, I can speak a little bit for you.
Yeah, well, I can speak for me too.
Well, because we
but-
talk about this in our videos, like if you've already had sex and then you decide you're going to create stricter boundaries, it's going to be harder for you most likely than someone who has not gone there. So I do think that made it more challenging for you and for us. It's funny because as I'm talking, I'm like, wouldn't you have maybe learned from it and been like, okay, I failed in this area. I'm going to go really the opposite direction to be careful not to do it again. But it seemed like it caused more difficulty for you. What you know.
His face is creepy and I don't know exactly what to read into it.
It's like, oh my God. Okay, like Zod, if you were struggling with alcohol, right? And
Yeah.
I was just like, well, if you never drank alcohol in the first place, then we wouldn't even be in this mess. Like, it would be easier for you to set those boundaries. It's like, yeah, no shit. But like, we're already here. So like, what are we going to do? How are we going to help you? First of all, having sex is not like having a problem with alcohol, but like, you get what I'm trying to say here, right? If you legitimately view that as a problem, why would you make fun of somebody for that?
Yeah,
That's just
exactly.
so weird.
Well, and that creepy smile on his face is like, oh yeah, I know. Like,
Yeah.
it's like you were
What
all
did
over
she
me and I was
learn?
irresistible kind of creepiness. Like you couldn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
What-
gross.
What are your thoughts on that? I'm genuinely curious.
Let me just be completely honest, like I always am on here with you guys. If Paul had not been as strict as he was with our boundaries, I do believe that I would have gone further, because again, once you cross those boundaries, even after you've dealt with the heartbreak, the sickness, the despair, the everything, like even after
the
that,
conviction of the Holy Spirit.
yeah, the conviction, you get into a relationship and you realize this is your husband or this is your wife.
Future husband or wife.
Yeah. It just, I mean, again, like, guys, like, the Lord created sex. He created our bodies. He created our hormones. So it's like, all this stuff was rising up in me, and I was just like,
And guys, like that's why we hit on so many practical physical boundaries videos, because when you love somebody and your emotions are building, like that's why we encourage you guys, don't be dating for 4 or 5 years. What kind of sense does that really make?
Or don't put yourself in these situations where your hormones are getting stirred up a bunch. Like, that's why we say set really strict boundaries. Don't even hold hands if you have to. Like, if you're really hormonal and holding hands is gonna get your hormones going, then just don't. It's not worth.
It is better to pluck out your eyes than to lust after a woman or something. I think Confucius said that. Right?
Yeah.
Somebody said that. I'm just kidding. That's the Bible. That's the
I know.
Bible.
All their advice is basically telling you to make sure you know as little about someone as possible before you get into a relationship with them. Like,
Yeah.
don't date for a long time. Don't hold hands if you feel too hormonal. So basically, not only don't establish a sexual rhythm with each other, but like don't get any kind of understanding about how you are with affection and anything else. Like, I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, no, it's like the idea, first of all, very theologically interesting, because she's literally like, God created sex, God created your hormones, but if you act on those gifts, I guess you can't, it's bad. But only if you use the gifts in the specific way, then it's okay. Okay.
Well, and when she started saying God created sex and it's a normal thing to want and all this stuff, what I saw was her inching a little close to normalizing what she had done. And then when she sang that, he crosses his arms a lot, if you notice.
Yeah.
His posture is very closed off, and he's like looking down and very dour, and like he's deep inside himself or trying to send him signals. I don't know. There's so much here to break down.
He's like, I think he's trying to hide the fact that he's smug. He's like, yeah, I know she wanted me, but
yeah,
I didn't give it to her. I think that's what he's saying.
I think body language experts are a lot of pseudoscience for the most part, but they would have a field day with this. I don't know what they came up with was reliable, but yeah. All right. You want to go any further, Dan?
Do I want to go any further, Zod? Well, at least buy me dinner first. Am I right, folks?
I guess that's the problem with watching a video where they use innuendo and instead of ever saying like they banged. Like they have we went further.
Yeah, that's true. Now let's I think there's just like a little bit more of this. Let's finish this out.
All righty.
Worth it. Like, it is so much better.
You guys sometimes say like we're crazy and talking about not kissing and like what Morgan's saying, but I don't think Morgan is the crazy exception here. I think she's more the norm. What she went through, having had sex and then dating me and just having again like desires to go further than she knows she should. Once again, we're not trying to say take our advice no matter what, but we're saying like we encourage you to hear us out and to actually pray about the stuff that we're saying. Maybe take it to someone who's been walking with the Lord for a while.
The boundaries that Paul set, and I agreed to. It's not like he was like, this is our boundaries. Like, I agreed to them as well. I thought that they were good and smart. Like, but my flesh was fighting against them because, like, our flesh fights against what is right. Like, what God has set in place to keep us safe, to keep us smart, our flesh fights against it until we die to ourselves.
Our flesh says, I want what I want. I want what feels good. If it feels good, it can't be bad.
Yeah.
And then when you're watching nonstop romantic movies and romantic books and magazines and you're not in the Word a lot, that's going to start shaping your mind more.
I feel like romantic books and movies and magazines is another innuendo for something that he probably,
Yeah, you're probably right. That's, they keep talking about, the flesh makes you do these things. Okay, well, look. If God really didn't want you to do it, why doesn't he just not activate your sexual hormones until you marry somebody? Hey, there's a good solution, right? You just, until you sincerely love or marry somebody, then the hormones goes off. No, instead, it happens when you're like 13 and you like can't do anything about it. Like, how is that helping anybody?
You get to practice. You get to practice holiness.
Resisting it. I guess
you get the opportunity to promise your dad that you'll never bang a guy until you're married.
Or your college dorm mates,
Yeah. One thing I just noticed just now is she talks a lot about how horny she was. And he doesn't say a word of that, does he? Like he either doesn't say anything about it or speaks in pure abstractions. And that's something that's one of the things underneath this, the current of this, that I realized makes this feel fake, even though I didn't recognize it until just now.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing in him that is talking about how he really had to try to hold back or he struggled or anything like that. He's just like this angelic anti-sex robot that was nothing but holiness and boundaries and fended her off and forgives her.
You're right. You're right. Maybe he's so smug and self-satisfied in the fact that he gets to hold this over her that it's worth it for him to go all the way with the whole virgin thing. You know, maybe that's what was keeping him going. But yeah, I don't know. Let's get like another 30 seconds, 45 of this.
God's heart.
Yeah, I actually
Here we go.
remember, it's funny that you mentioned that. I remember when we were dating, I stopped watching romantic movies, stopped reading like the Twilights, which I had already read those, but like books like that, I stopped.
Oh, Edward.
I had to stop because that was just like making my hormones that much worse and making me want that physical touch and connection, that it just wasn't time for that yet. And like we kissed before engagement, like we made out, which we say to be careful with making out. Praise the Lord, Paul was as strong as he was because he stopped.
Hey guys, I've been honest with you in regards to that. Like I did wait until I asked her dad for permission to marry her, but if I had to redo it, I would have held off the kissing until our wedding day. We kissed. We made out, and it stirred up the emotions more than they needed to be stirred up at that time.
Because
Damn.
Paul, you dirty slut.
Paul's like, yeah, I would have been even better if it weren't for this chick right here. I would, yeah, you know, she did me dirt. Maybe Paul is ace. Have we considered this? Maybe he's asexual. Maybe that's why it's so easy for him. Maybe he doesn't actually enjoy it.
That popped into my mind, but I think that's just, I don't think he is. I think he's just trying to project that.
Yeah, you're probably right. No, it does. Being ace doesn't also necessarily mean that you can't have, you know, romantic relationships and other kinds of things. I'm just saying, you know, this conversation is very one-sided right now, and I'm with you. I don't believe it. I think this is a story. I don't think that this is the whole truth. What we're seeing here.
Yeah, she's spilling. Oh, I was going to say she's spilling all the beans. She's not. She's at least being real about some of her desires or weaknesses. And yeah, the fact that he won't even say anything about what he struggled with or throw in some little side comment about how he's, you know, watched some of the Hub or cranked one out or whatever. It's
oh man. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong though. That's the thing. I also just, I don't believe it. Are you saying, Paul, the entire time you never saw a woman and thought, oh man, that person's attractive? It'd be nice if I did something with that woman or something, you know, like you didn't have any kind of thought beyond like, oh, I'm waiting for Morgan to marry me. Like, I just don't believe it. I'm sorry. I don't, unless there's something else going on, but you know.
Yeah, it's just this huge gaping hole in this puzzle that's just missing, and it's
true.
Makes the story not even feel believable at all.
It's true. One last little bit here. Let's go. Let's
right.
Keep it up.
Of the relationship that I had been in for 3.5 years, where it was very physical and we crossed many and all lines, physical touch was just so like a thing, like that was just so natural to me.
That's a good point. And I remember her saying maybe a month or two in, Paul, I really want your physical touch so that I know that you love me. And so many of you all, because I've seen these comments,
they're good at writing dialogue
here, but say, oh, Paul and Morgan, you talk so much about physical boundaries, but physical touch is my love language, and I need physical touch. I'm not going to go into that too much, except for to say, I think perhaps you're giving your emotions too much rule in your life there.
Because I was so used to physical touch and whatnot.
Okay, Mr. Spock.
Man, he's like, hey, listen, if physical touch is your love language, you suck as a person, actually. You need to get that shit under control. Like me. Listen, if you don't give physical affection, or if you like giving physical affection to the people you love, you're actually not a healthy person. You need to get that worked out. That's what Paul is saying right now. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's just like this weird robot laying out the logic of the situation as if impulses had never crossed his mind, and he's just sitting here evaluating it like some holiness machine.
Yeah. That is God, Gosh, I love it. I love the self-righteousness in that. That's just so great. Like, yeah, I really want to have a relationship like you guys do. You know what I mean? Yeah, you guys are definitely the ideal that I want to strive for. Absolutely. No question about that. We do have a super chat.
I've always wanted to be in the kind of relationship where I get onto a YouTube video with my partner and just like gradually passive aggressively spill the beans in front of everybody.
100%. We do have a super chat that we should read out. It's from Jay Victor, who gave $5. Who said, "Having I Touch Myself by Divinals is in her playlist. Did not help her with the hormones either." I don't know who that is, but I'm assuming that's like a thing, a sexy thing.
It's probably at least as sexy as watching Twilight.
Yeah, if Twilight's I mean, I could see how they take their shirts off a lot in those movies. I've seen them. At least the werewolf guy does. So I can see how that can do things to you. I don't know about the books. I'm sure there's even more shirt taking off scenes in the books, to be fair. But yeah, I don't know. Do you want to end things here, Zod? Should we give Paul Morgan more of our time, or should we just wrap things up?
I'm good to wrap up if you are.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should probably wrap things up here then. Folks, thanks so much for watching our stream today and spending time with us. We didn't get to spiritual gifts, but I think you guys will agree that Paul Morgan's video was the biggest spiritual gift of all, because it certainly raised my spirits. Huh? What do you think of that? It's pretty good.
That is really good.
Thanks.
Let's get a couple of announcements. By the way, remember, send us your questions. We want to hear your questions about anything. So we'll choose which ones to answer and not in some cases, but it can be about just anything we do here on YouTube's, maybe to some extent about our personal lives, anything about our religious histories, our perspectives on things. We just want a nice, fun variety of questions. So send those to us. Dan, do you have something to add?
Yes, because somebody commented and said, "Divinals, I Touch Myself," and I know that song now. So now I know what the joke was going to be made there. So thank you for making that connection. But no, please post your comments and your questions in the comments about what you want to ask us. It's an AMA. We're doing like a little AMA. We want to just tell you about ourselves, our lives, I guess, and we'll pick the best ones and go from there. And please, if you're the praying type, pray for Zod, because he is on day 5 of a 7-day, let's call it a fast from sanity, I think, which is watching God's Not Dead 4 every day for some reason. And by the way,
starting to slip a little.
I didn't have this idea. I didn't say, "Hey, Zod, this would be funny." Zod was like, "Wouldn't it be cool if I just torture myself for 7 days and record that to YouTube for views?" And that's what happens when you become a YouTuber, folks. You do this to yourself, and it's not healthy. So if anything, I shouldn't even be encouraging Zod. But low key, I was like, "Zod, that's amazing. You absolutely have to do that." So
yeah,
it is what it is.
And we have one new patron this week, Ray Sylvester. So thank you, Ray, for joining. Notifications now suck on Patreon. They made them way worse for some reason, but I'm trying to keep up on who's joined and who we have signed up and stuff. So
yes, that's a good thing. Thank you again to everybody who donates on Patreon, folks. If you want to support us, we have costs that come up, like my Adobe Premiere subscription. And yes, I pay for Adobe Premiere because I'm a prima donna. And I have to have the nicest video editing software out there. But stuff like that, it does help for making this stuff happen. So thank you to everybody who donates for this fun little side project that we do. We do put some effort into this stuff. It's fun. I've been enjoying planning stuff out. We've got some more fun stuff coming up in the future. So look forward to it. I think with that done, Zod, we should say our famous tagline. What's our tagline this week? Do you have one?
Shoot, I forgot to think of it.
Yeah, we should think of a good tagline for today. Maybe something about having sex before marriage is all right by us. That's a good tagline, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Having sex before marriage is all right by us.
Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República
Okay,
Dominicana,
goodbye.
la casa del merengue y la
right,
casa de la bachata. Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata. La 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 la, la casa del merengue. La 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 la, y la casa de la bachata. Música, 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 te traigo música, 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 música de la República. ¡Ajá!